Hey, Sports Talk Bears, like and subscribe. I just want to start with saying I'm going to shift back a little. I don't want to continue talking through scenarios I don't think are necessarily great fits for the Bears for the reason of just being complete and objective. With that being said, let's look back at last year on the Chicago Bears. Our big swing was Montez Sweat, and we also paid up for Tremaine Edwards. Both great moves, right? Now, this year, our big swing, it very well might be in-house with the signing of Jalen Johnson. That's cool too. But I want to discuss the need to go into free agency looking at some, for lack of a better way of saying it, second or third tier options on the market. Because here's the thing. We have limited cap space compared to last year. We're about in the 46 mil range before veteran cuts. So the ability to make a big splash, it might need to be pulled back a little bit. Even if the ability is there, I think the best course of action is to share the same goal as Ryan Poles continues to outline. He's stated over and over that the goal is to build through the draft primarily. We also want to avoid overextending and mortgaging the future just to win now, but finding that balance. We want to build a winner right now. That needs to happen, but also we want to keep financial flexibility. So let's be responsible here. That further points to the need to make a big trade or trades for more picks while not sacrificing the ability to draft some blue chip players that'll help us right now. And there's so many scenarios. We've gone through a lot of them, but let's just look at what we did last year. This story on sportsmockery.com is great. They just do such a good job there. Give them your eyes. I want to give them some credit, and you should also just use them as a go-to for some top tier analysis. They're great. Now, last year, guess who was looking like a second tier option? It was TJ Edwards. We added him for 3 years, 19.5 million, including a 4.5 million signing bonus, 7.9 guaranteed. That's an average salary of 6.5. Man, these guys make so much money. It's crazy that's a bargain, but his annual salary is 6.5 million. I mean, talk about a great move, right? He's one of the best tacklers in the league and an absolute beast. And these are the type of players I trust this front office to target and get signed. So let's go through some players that make sense. And please feel free to chime in on the message board. I don't think I need to tell you. You guys are really good at that. So a guy not getting much press as an option is wide receiver Tyler Boyd. I mean, I love the thought of Curtis Samuel for obvious reasons, the bond with DJ Moore being one of them. But man, this guy is being overlooked. He fits the mold of responsible, likely 2 years at 17.5 million, and the length and the money amount can be debated. This is just a baseline, so bear with me here. But no matter what your preference is, whatever your desire is, the most likely draft targets are either MHJ or Odunze, even later pick like Malik Neighbors out of LSU. So we've gone through trade ups and trade downs, so we can save the method of drafting one of these guys for another conversation. But imagine this: a wide receiver core of Moore, MHJ, or one of the aforementioned, and Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins, I don't think he's going anywhere. The Bengals, they'll sign him to a long term, or most likely they'll just tag him. I would be shocked if they let him get away from the team. But that leaves Boyd here. That leaves him as less of a priority to the Bengals. And I think that's a mistake. Why? He's been a consistent complement his whole career. First under AJ Green, then Chase. He's played second fiddle or third fiddle his whole career. And in that role, he's been the model of consistency. At least 600 catches in 7 of 8 seasons, a fantastic slot option, crisp routes, good size, strong hands. He's also a great blocker in the running game. Just a solid add and at a lower cost. Great move. Let me drop down the story here. We've got another spot to fill. We've got a center spot that's vacant. And although I would love to trade picks, use a potential gain second rounder for someone like Powers Johnson, love him. Rookie centers, they've had a hard time adjusting recently, immediately in the game. A rookie center is not always a good thing if you want to win now. You guys know that. But no matter the talent, a great free agent to target is Andre James out of Vegas. So hear me out here. He's yet another reasonable asking price. I'd say it's 3 years, 27 million. That's supported by the Sports Mockery story. And look at the landscape here. We tried Whitehair, we tried Patrick. I can keep going, but we've just got to do this well. And I love to fill the hole with a player who's actually ascending. He's developed into a pretty nice player over the last 3 years. And James, he's not going to break the bank. We can do a shorter term contract and be able to pivot if the drafted center needs a little development time. Powers Johnson is a perfect example of that. He's versatile. He's played other spots on the defensive line throughout his collegiate career, and he's shown that he has done it well. If we draft someone like him, he might need to slip over to guard for a short period of time and develop while the veteran is holding down the fort, and then Powers Johnson could be ready to bump in, right? So let's look at the book on James. Scouts say he's smart, athletic, a great run blocker. The stats support this. Vegas has had musical chairs at quarterback and only 19 pressures allowed in pass protection. That's great. Just a consistent presence, and he just checks the boxes. We've also got another option no one's talking about, and that's Lloyd Cushenberry. I think I'm pronouncing that right. You guys, sometimes I get names wrong, so bear with me. To know me is to love me. He had a career year during a contract year with the Broncos where he's shown improvement as a run blocker, and he's been one of the better pass blocking centers in the league. Cushenberry would fill a huge void at center for Chicago, and I like him as an option as well. Now we got to talk about edge. You guys know this is coming. This is what I've been covering a lot lately, but I want to do something similar here. Think through AJ Epinesa. There is some familiarity here. New defensive line coordinator, Eric Washington. He knows him so well from his time in Buffalo. And if Washington signs off on the addition, if he does that, he's an unquestioned expert in this area. I mean, he's just a key part of our staff. I'm sure Poles will trust Washington, and it's a player that he knows intimately. So I trust it being a great move if that's where we go. Also, he just really fits our mold really well. He fits what Coach Flus loves: big, long, lots of power. So he looks like he's like the prototypical fit. Like, he's not one dimensional. He's not just a pass rush specialist to complement Sweat, but a guy, he plays the run really well too. Dexter, he's a similar complementary piece, and I'm warming up to him. 6'6", 260. That's the size of Epinesa. He has had, good grief, how much has he had? 13 sacks over the last 2 years. That's fantastic. I think he's just a great choice. And a big part of, once again, concentrating on the offensive line and marquee talent on that side of the ball while still tending to our already top 5 defense. I think that's where we're at. And we're also being responsible with the cap for future years. This makes sense to plug in a second or third tier player, but I think we trust our staff. If you put in somebody like AJ, I think he's going to be similar to TJ Edwards. He could be a steal. But for sure, let's still draft a defensive end. Let's still draft a center. Let's still draft a safety. But let's not feel forced to do it in the first round. Let's trade. Let's move around in the draft. Let's get some of these second round picks and fill those holes that way. And I would love for us to get a wide receiver in the first round, and I would love for us to get a premier offensive lineman. And I think that would be a huge win. So anyways, sidetrack. Let's get on another edge. Let's look at Jonathan Greenard out of the Texans. Jonathan Greenard, he's thrived under DeMeco Ryans in Houston. He's both a productive pass rusher and a run defender, which would be a great addition to Matt Eberflus's defense. I think he's also a good pivot. And let's look at a final player at a final position, and let's consider Julian Blackmon. It's a contract for him. The contract for him would be 2 years, $11.5 million. That's an estimate. But once again, shorter term contract, lots of upside. We all know Eddie Jackson is cooked, right? We also know he's making way too much money and he's likely gone. Blackmon is a few years younger at 27, but last year he had 4 picks. And he's already spent a couple of years in the Flus defense at free safety. Those were the years of 2020 and 21 in Indianapolis. He has a good projected cost. He has familiarity with the scheme already and with our coach, plus some upside. Yet another good fit. We've also got Kyle Duggar with the Patriots. He's solid against the run, and he isn't a liability in coverage. He'd be a good choice as well. And we've also got Geno Stone. He's from the Ravens. He's thrived in this first year. This is the first year that he's had a starting role, and man, he's taken off. He'd be a solid complement to Brisker. He had 7 interceptions this season, second most in the NFL, first among safeties. He might be a bit more expensive to get. He might be more of a big marquee signing, but hey, I think if we want to fix his safety position and solidify our secondary, he might be the big swing to swing at that we're not thinking of. He might be or should be our top target when all things are equal when we're looking to shore up our secondary. So, you guys, I'm not perfect here. These are guys that I think would fit these spots really, really well. If you constructively have someone else in mind, please let me know. We'll chop it up. And also, I just think it's such a good idea to be to have good football economics in mind when we're filling these positions. And it's not always a big swing. It's fun to talk about these big marquee players, the top of the line players. It's fun to make shows about them, but I'm not so sure it's realistic. Let's look at some of these second and third tier players. Let's build in the draft. And hey, guys, don't worry, your secret's safe with me. I'm not going to tell your wives that you're watching sports stuff on Valentine's Day. So love your wives and girlfriends. You guys, you're so appreciated, and happy Valentine's Day, and bear down. This is a great off season, and I'm glad to walk through it with you. See ya.